our money habits is just a part of what we do at the bank. Just simply financial education is really all that it is. I like to say budget is not a four-letter word. This allows you to be able to talk about and think about what you want to do with your money. That's it. That's all. It's a plan. So what we're going to talk about today, and I'm going to share my screen here. Give me just 1 second. We're going to talk about income and paychecks. So you've gotten your check, you've looked at it. You may or may not understand it. What most of us look at is that bottom line, what's going to go into our account and what we can spend. But we're going to talk today about other parts. So we're going to learn how to read your paycheck so you know what it is and where it's all going, and how to make the most of your paycheck. So first thing is parts of your paycheck. First time you looked at it, you were like, wait, where'd all that money go? I was making such and such an hour. I worked this many hours. This is how much my check should be for. Where did it all go? I do it every time I see my paycheck because it's, gone, half of it, before I even get any of it. So gross pay is what you will hear over your course of lifetime when you're trying to buy a house, a car, a credit card, whatever the case may be. Gross pay is just that, how much you make per hour times how many hours you worked. That is what that is. Not what you take home, it's the gross. I like to kind of say it's gross because I wish I could have it, but it's not. So net pay is what you get after they take all the deductions. So your mandatory deductions are things that are required by law, and they're like income tax, federal, state, city income tax. If you live or work in the city, you get that 1% that they take out. Social Security tax, that's what's going to give you hopefully your retirement at the end of your career working, and then Medicare tax. So that's health insurance for people over 65 and people with disabilities or that are not able to work. So those are required by law to come out. That's going to come out of the top. Pre-tax is what they call that, deductions. So they're going to base it on what that gross pay is. Then you have your voluntary deductions. Those are things that you choose to have taken out. If you have health insurance at your job, you have a 401k, an FSA, commuter benefits, if your employer offers those all typically come out before or out of that that gross amount also. So it's on, when it's taxes, you're getting taxed on the higher amount. When it's benefiting you, like what goes into your 401k, it's benefiting you because it is on that higher amount. So your take home or net pay is your gross pay minus all of those deductions. So does anyone have any questions about what we just went over, the parts of your paycheck and your taxes? No? Okay.
Feel free to send something in the chat or raise your hand, whatever works for you.
Yep. I'm happy to answer any questions. So this is just kind of how it breaks down. Like I said, that gross pay, the total amount you were paid before anything's taken out, let's say it's a $1,000, your mandatory by law deductions were $246.50. You didn't have any voluntary deductions coming out, so your net pay is $753.50. So all comes straight out of that gross pay, not nearly enough in your pocket. So if we want to talk about making the most of your income, when you're working part-time, you want to create a buffer. The buffer is the amount of money that you're setting aside so that unexpected events or changes don't throw you off financially. So let's say that you're a server at a restaurant and you work typically 4 or 5 days a week. You get all of that, your paycheck's not a whole heck of a lot, but your tips are. So that is what you're going to bring home each week. But let's say you're going to not be able to work for a couple of days because whatever, you're going out of town or you're not feeling well. Typically, a part-time job isn't going to have health insurance, so that's just going to be money that you're not going to be earning. So that buffer or that savings is what you'll put aside so that in case you can't work, you have some funds that will still be used for whatever it is that you need to pay for. If you're just providing for yourself, they say that you should have 3 months of expenses saved for that buffer. It took me years to get there. Trust me, it did not happen until I was much older that I was able to. But any buffer is better than none. So, and I'm hoping that you all have heard, pay yourself first. Put your whatever percentage of your paycheck that you want to in a savings account. Most people recommend starting with 10% of how much you make, but put that away first before you pay anything else. Obviously, if you have to pay bills with it, that's not going to work. But even if you only put $5 away from each paycheck and leave it and don't touch it, you're building a buffer, you're building that savings. It doesn't matter how much is in there as long as you're building it. You can put more, put more. If you can't, put something. That's the way I like to think about it. Taxes, plan for your taxes. Depending on states, and the numbers that I have here are 0 to 13% of your income could go just to state taxes. That's not including federal, which is about 10 to 37%, depending on how you claim. If you claim that you have dependents or if you can be claimed on somebody else's taxes, there's different ways, but 10 to 37%. So if we've got 37% and 13%, I'm a banker, but I'm not the greatest, but I think that's 50% of your income could be going to taxes. Then again, like I said, St. Louis City taxes, if you live or work in St. Louis City, that's another 1% on top of it. And if you work in different cities that may have, like Kansas City does have it also, but if you work in different states, they'll have different. So if you're working in Illinois and living in Missouri, you're going to have different rates for that work. So there's a lot of factors. Then you have Social Security tax, which is 6.2%, and Medicare is 1.45% of your income. So now we're at about 57% of your income is gone, just right off the top for your taxes, not to mention everything else. See what benefits your employer offers. Even if you're not full-time, sometimes you can get some kind of benefits. For example, I'm very, very, very lucky. I work for a company that does give tuition benefits. So I was able to go back to school, go to college. I got my bachelor's completely paid for by the bank, completely. Did it over 3 years, got it taken care of, and I'm working on my master's. Again, very lucky, and you can see how long it took me to get to this place to be able to do that. But look at what kind of benefits your employer offers. They might, if you have to take the bus to work, they might be able to give you some kind of supplemental something for that commute rather than having a car. If you buy an electric car, sometimes they'll have benefits. So it's worth it. Child care benefits is another thing that Bank of America offers. So if you have child care that you have to pay for, they can supplement that also. So be sure and look at your employer for what kind of benefits that they do offer. Health insurance is expensive. It is not cheap. Depending on your employer and what they have negotiated will be what you have to pay. And that negotiation, if you're in a smaller company, I can remember a smaller bank that I worked at that had, 100 employees. We had 2 people that were on lists for transplants for organs. And so our insurance was so high because of these 2 people, because it was a small company. So the negotiated cost is going to be, hopefully, again, you're at a company that will supplement your health insurance. Then you have to think about what kind of insurance. Am I going to go for the high dollar balance so that I don't have, if I don't go to the doctor that often or I don't think I'm going to use anything, then I can pay less monthly, but my deductible is higher. Then you can go the opposite and pay more monthly and your deductible is lower. So there's so many factors into health insurance that hopefully they are able to give you something or some place to go online that you can look at each opportunity that you have for health insurance. So here it gives the example of that the negotiated cost may be $1,000. You're paying $200 of that $1,000 monthly, and the company is paying $200 and the insurer pays $800. Or it can flip. So you can see there are so many different ways that health insurance can be. And it's one of those things that's important. Obviously, the older you get, trust me, insurance is important. But do what you can, because even if you just have to go to get an X-ray, it can be $1,000, which is crazy for because you have to have some things like that. So look at your company for health insurance, and always there's Medicaid, there's, I don't even know what they call it anymore, Obamacare or whatever, but if you have some sort of health insurance, that's what you want to do. I'm going to stop there for just a second and see if anybody has any questions on all of that I just went over. Okay, I'm going to move on. Government resources. There are some and lots of agencies out there that are able to help if you do need something. This is what your taxes are going for. So when you're getting those taxes on your paycheck, it's going to pay for these government resources. So if you need them, please take advantage of them. SNAP, TANF, Medicaid, all here. And then I will send this out to Amanda so that she can send this to you. So you have all of these benefits also and the links for them. Here's even more, just a couple more links for anything and everything that you might need. And again, you'll have these personally so you can take a look at them. So tips to stay on track, because now we know what goes out on the paycheck. We know that we can get some help with some things, but how do we deal with what we actually do get in our pockets? So obviously track your spending. That's where I said budget's not a 4-letter word. It's just simply a plan for how to spend your money. Save for emergencies. We kind of talked a little bit about that 10%, and find ways to cut back. So tracking your spending, back in the day, you used to write a budget out and write it. You can go on your phone and there's a bazillion different budget plans. Don't pay for anything. You can find it free, or if you have online banking through your bank account, it will track your spending for you also. But knowing where your money goes is the biggest part of the battle, because if you know what you're spending, and sometimes like I'll look up what I'm spending on streaming services. Oh my gosh, I'm like, I quit cable because I didn't want to pay all that money, but I have all the channels that I want, so I'm spending too much money on streaming. So, look where you're spending your money. Save for emergencies, stay on track. As I said, that 10% is what they say, 3 months of expenses that you should strive for saving for yourself. If you do have a family, 6 months is what they're saying. And that is everything. Housing costs, vehicle, transportation, cell phone, whatever it is that you spend, they're saying that you should have 3 to 6 months saved. Again, sometimes impossible to do, so start with $5. Put it away, put it somewhere so that you can't get to it easily, and start any way that you can. And then find a way to cut back. Obviously, if you got more going out than you have coming in, it's a problem. So think about ways that you can cut back. I have a video here. Oh, well, I thought it was on the next one. We'll get to it shortly. I don't know if it's going to play or not, so we will check it out. Ways to cut back. Again, start a spending plan for yourself. Just how much you're going to spend every day. Am I going to spend $5 and not really get anything, or am I going to go ahead and say it's a red letter day and I'm going to spend $25 today because I want Starbucks and I want, whatever for lunch. Take public transportation wherever you can. If you can utilize that, always cheaper. Change your phone plan. This is a little bit old, I think, because most plans are pretty much, unlimited, whatever. So changing your phone plan, just make sure that you're not spending a whole heck of a lot. Make sure you're getting the best that you can. Something that you don't buy often, but perhaps you don't need, you know, whatever it can be. You're going by, you know, Starbucks or whatever, and, you know, it's that little, what do they call it, impulse buying. That stuff that's at the checkout that you don't really need, that, you know, the candy bars are like $2 a piece now. That's crazy in my mind. It used to be like, oh, let me get myself a little candy, but now they're like $2 a piece rather than under $1. Grocery list, if you're doing any grocery shopping for cooking for yourself, stick to your list and take your lunch, your food to work every day. It's a way to cut back. So I guess they took out the video on me on this one. So key takeaways were understanding your paycheck, finding out what resources help, and just stay with it. Keep going. If, like I said, if you're going to save $5 today and you're not able to next week, that's okay. That's all right. Just don't stop. Just keep going and don't give up on anything. So I'm going to stop here, see if we have any questions.
It looks like Xavier meant, he chatted and said, what is the median range of money that you should have saved for expenses for 3 to 6 months?
What?
It's really going to go on how much you make. How much you make. It's really, you know, if it's actually not even how much you make, it's how much you spend. So if you are spending, you know, like for example, I'm an open book. I'll say like my rent is $1,000 a month. Then I've got a car payment that's $400 a month. You know, any meals out. My groceries are astronomical right now. So let's say all of that right there is between $2,000 and $2,500. And that's just for the needs that I have to have every month, not anything extra. So that's what I would strive for is, okay, let me take my $2,500, let's go $3,000 just for my math skills because I'm not the best. So if I'm going to do 3 months, then I'm going to need $9,000 to save for that 3 months. If I'm going for 6 months, that's $18,000 that I need to have. Don't let that scare you. Don't let that, you know, think there's no way I'm going to get there. Because think about what you can do and where you can get. As I said, if you're in a job that your income isn't the same every week or every 2 weeks, and you're not able to work, if you're a server, as I was using it earlier, even $100 if you miss a day of work is going to be a great asset to you as savings, because when you aren't able to work, you can't make the money. And so if you have that, whatever it is, saved, it's going to be an asset to you. So I can't really just give you a number, but you just have to really think about what bare bones it would cost you each month to live. And then times that by 3 for a single person, 6 for a family or somebody with dependents. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, I got a couple minutes here. So I was going to see what all questions do you all have? We talked about paychecks. It doesn't necessarily have to be about a paycheck, but what kind of financial questions do you have just in general? Anything? I'll give you a second to think about it. Let me talk about what a topic is that everyone seems to want to know, is how to build credit. Where do I go? How do I get credit? What do I do? And what is good credit? It's very hard to build credit responsibly. You know, there's some places you can go and get credit. Used to be on college campuses, they gave out credit cards like nobody's business. And if you don't have a plan for that credit, it can get you into a lot of trouble because it's easy just to thump down that card and not to think about the fact that at the end of the month, you're going to have to pay on that. I can't explain credit building loans to you. That fits in, Xavier, perfectly, because that's about where I was going with this. I just used some numbers in another talk that I did, and let me find those numbers because I know I talked about, here it is. If you have a credit card that's $2,000, it has a $2,000 balance on it, that's what you're carrying, and the minimum payment is $65 per month. That, and let's say your interest rate is 18%, which is, believe it or not, a really good interest rate right now for just an everyday credit card. I have seen in my lifetime, I've seen 42% on a credit card. It's crazy. But that $2,000 paying that minimum payment of $65 each month will take you 14 years to pay off. You will pay $6,284 in interest. So you will pay over 3 times the amount of money that you actually spent in interest. If you bump that payment from $65 to $104, it will take you 3 years to pay off, which obviously is much shorter than 14 years, and you will pay $3,744 in interest. So you're still paying a time and a half more in interest, but you can see obviously it's not $6,000. But that's what credit cards will do if you're not careful and you don't think about what you're spending. And $2,000 is not a lot of money to have on a carry on a credit card balance. So credit builder loans or credit cards that are credit builder are a really great way to start out, and it's a safe way to do it when you're trying to build credit. What that means, let me explain a credit card. This is usually the easiest to understand. So let's say that you have no credit whatsoever, and everyone's inclination is to go and get on a credit card or a house or a car with somebody else, like a parent or a guardian. Not always the best thing to do, because if they don't pay their bill, it's going to affect you. So think about that, is that if I'm on a car loan with somebody and they stop paying, even though it's not my responsibility, one, if I'm on that loan, it is now my responsibility and I have to pay it. And two, it's going to go on my credit report. So, and that had nothing to do with you. So it's not always a great way to build credit going with someone else. But let's say you're going to do a credit card. You can take a savings of $300. Again, here you go with that, pay yourself first. I've saved $300. And I'm going to go to a bank or a credit union, and I'm going to say I want a secure credit card. And what that means is I'm going to give you my $300. You're going to give me a credit card with a limit of $300. And every month I'm going to use that credit card, and I'm going to make a payment. You're keeping my $300, but I'm going to make a payment on that credit card on time each month, and you're going to report it to the credit bureau. Typically at the end of the first year, 18 months, they will release that $300 that you initially put down. So basically you're thinking of it as a savings account. They're holding my $300. I can't spend it, but I'll get it back. So at the end of that, they'll release your $300, and you now have an unsecured credit card. And they may even raise the limit to $500, $1,000, depending on how well you made that payment. So that's what those are for. Credit builders are a very secure way for you and the company that you're using. Look at things like interest rates, and because credit builder loans can do the exact same thing. You give them their amount of money, they're going to give you a loan for that amount of money, and basically you're borrowing against your own money. However, you want to look at what interest rate they're charging you, because if they're holding your $300 and you're not making any interest on it, but they're charging you that 40% interest like I've seen in the past, no bueno. That's not good, because you're not making anything and you're spending a lot. So if you use the credit card and you pay it off each month and you don't accrue any interest, fine. But you need to be very careful of that. But it is a good way because it's very secure for you and for them to build credit. From there, you can then go and get an unsecured card or a cell phone loan or whatever the case may be to help you to build more credit. Did that answer your question, Xavier? Okay. So anybody else, any other questions about credit or credit cards? We can talk a little bit more about credit scores. But I want to answer any questions that you all have. So credit scores, they go everywhere from 300 to 850. Somewhere about 650, 670, you start to have, let's call it good credit. Anything below that, you're going to have a little bit of a tough time getting credit. Meaning, if you want to buy a house, get a loan, buy a car, credit card, even insurance, if you have to pay car insurance on a car that you already have, things like that, because they don't think that you're as good of risk as you should be. If you have a higher credit score, you're a better risk, and therefore your charges for like car insurance are cheaper. Can also have something to do if you are looking for certain jobs. They will run your credit report beforehand, just again, kind of the same thing. If you have horrible credit, they may think, this guy or this girl is not a great risk for us because they can't take care of their own business. That's more in like financial agencies, quite honestly. If you go to one to be in the financial spectrum, that they'll look more at your credit just because of the high risk. Not even necessarily with cash handling, but the fact that you have, so much responsibility around money. You don't, it's one of those things that you don't want to, go to a mechanic to have your car fixed if he can't fix his own car, kind of thought behind it. But if you're looking for a house, FHA will loan to you if you have a 620 credit score. However, trying to find a bank that will loan to you with a 620 credit score is where your real challenge comes in. A lot of banks have a little bit higher bottom line for what what a credit score should be. Your credit score is comprised of any debt that you have that is like a bank loan, a house loan, a car loan. It's not your utilities. So when you're trying to build that good credit, if you're paying for utilities, your water, your gas, your electric will not go onto your credit report. Now, if you don't pay those bills and they take you to court, that will go on your credit report, but making that payment each month does not. You can use it if you're looking to buy a house and you don't have a lot of credit established for just it's unconventional credit. Long story short, you don't need to know that right now because if you're looking for a house, I'm happy to talk to you about that, but I don't think that's where we are today. You want to get there eventually. So medical debt is another thing. If you make your payments on medical debt, it's not going to go on your credit report, but if you don't pay it, it will go on your credit report. So for the most part, though, it's only anything that is credit card, house payments, car payments, boats, whatever, anything like that. If you go and get a loan or something, a product from a bank or a credit union, it's going to go on your credit report. Then when you get to the credit report, there's a lot of formulas on, what makes a good credit score, what makes it go higher. Number one, bottom line, biggest percentage of that is paying your bill on time. Doesn't matter if you're just making the minimum payment or if you're making, paying it off. As long as it's on time, that's what's going to help your credit score more than anything. You will probably in your life not do it right. I did not. I think everyone does once or twice in their life and realize that, your minimum payment is $25, but I forgot to pay my credit card on time. And so now I have a late fee and that late fee is $35. And so now I owe whatever that is, $70. It doesn't take long before you realize what you did and that you don't want to do that again. So it's a learning curve, but that's the number one thing I can tell you is pay it on time and it will build beautifully for you. Any questions around that? Okay. I don't see anything in the chat. Let me just jump on one little thing here. Let me bring this up and I will share my screen again with you. And I'm going to share the right screen this time, I swear. So you can get to this online, anywhere on your phone, whatever. And I'm sharing the wrong screen again. Let me move this over. You can get to this page anywhere that you need to on your phone, whatever. It's free. Even though it says Bank of America, it doesn't mean that you have to have a Bank of America account. All you have to look for is Better Money Habits. And you can go out here and look at anything and everything you wanted to know about finances. So you can see here savings and budgeting. If I go to just view all, it's going to come up. And any topic that I want to know about is out here. And you can read, watch, whatever the case may be that you want to do, a topic on everything. Here's that creating a budget, like I talked about, not a 4-letter word, but how to create a budget and what you need to put on there. If you're military, an emergency fund, any question that you have. So if you're thinking one day just, what do I need to do? What's an achievable goal for me with my finances? This is what I make. Well, you can go out here and read something. It'll take you 2 or 3 minutes and read it. Anything and everything, like I said, savings and budgeting, emergency funds, credit cards, home ownership, investing, everything and anything, car loans, how to pay for college, taxes and income, all out here at your fingertips for free. All you have to do is look up Better Money Habits and it will get your answer for you, whatever it is. So the only other thing that I want to say, and it seems like this is a topic that comes up a couple of times in the past, is when you talk about paychecks and the 401k, that 401k, one, get involved as soon as you can. If you only put 1% in, put 1% in, because trust me, when you're older and you're ready to retire, there is not enough money in that 401k. It never fails. But the second thing is, if you have a 401k at a company and you leave that company and go to a different one, that money is yours. You're not leaving it there. You're not, forgetting about it. You don't think, oh, I only work there for a year or 2 years. Whatever's in that account is yours. You can roll it over to your new 401k and continue to build, put it into an investment, whatever the case may be, but that money is yours to take with you. You don't give it back to the company. And then a lot of companies will match. So if you put in 5% of your paycheck, they may match 5% of your paycheck. So you're getting free money for retirement also. So just remember that. If that's one thing I'm going to leave you with, is besides all the other, what your paycheck is and budgeting and everything else, that is your money. What about a Roth IRA rollover? You need to be careful and think about what you're doing, because a 401k is pre-taxed money. So that's money. Remember when we were talking about what comes out of your paycheck? They're going to take it out before you pay taxes on it. A Roth IRA is post-tax money. So you've already paid the taxes on any money that you put into a Roth. So where that gets tricky is that if it's a 401k, and there's all different plans, 403bs, which is a nonprofit or whatever the case, but we're going to, for simplicity, 401k. 401k, you have not paid taxes on yet. So when you take the money out, you will then pay taxes. The thought is that when you're taking the money out, you won't be making as much money as you did when you put it in, so you'll be taxed at a lower tax bracket, and so you won't have to pay so much in taxes on it. A Roth is taxed money. So you're going to take that same, so if you're taking $500 and putting it in your 401k, you're putting $500 in your 401k. You're putting it into a Roth, you might be only putting $400 because you've already paid taxes on that. So when you take the money out, you don't pay taxes on your Roth money. So you can't necessarily go interchangeable between a Roth and a 401k or an IRA. IRA works the same way as a 401k. It's just not a company program. So that's your difference. Roth and an IRA, two different things. So that's where you have to be careful, is in that tax and pre-tax money. Xavier's got all the questions today. Anybody else? Any questions? Okay. Well, as I said, I am going to send this information to Amanda, so she has it. She will also have my contact information. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. I'm happy to answer anything for you. You might want to check with that Better Money Habits website first, because if you're anything like me, the questions come at 3 o'clock in the morning, not at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when I'm still at work, and you might get a quick answer. So if you can find it on your own, all the better. But if you have any, just reach out. I'm happy to answer. So Amanda, I think that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate, and I'm sure everyone on here appreciates all the information. It's a lot to learn, a lot to take into practice as well. So there's always that learning curve. There's always going to be trial and error, and it's going to take a lot of time to establish those habits, those healthy habits. But yes, I will share this information at the end of the day today. And if there's nothing else, no other questions, just want to thank you guys for your time, for being in this session. And then also would love to thank Tracy for taking time out of her day to present to you all. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for your attention. I appreciate it. It was a good time.
Awesome. Have a good rest of the week and happy holidays. Bye.